You are born in Venice in a house so close to the canal that the walls sweat in winter. Your father rows cargo by day and drinks by night. Your mother boils rosemary, vinegar, and hope in the same little kitchen. You grow up with the smell of wet wood, fish scales, lamp oil, and tidewater. When you are small, you think Venice is the center of the world. Then you learn what every child here eventually learns. Venice is only beautiful from a distance. Up close, it rots, floods, coughs, and buries its dead fast. You are not born noble. You are not born rich. You are not born brave. You are born observant. You watch butchers cut tendon from bone. You watch priests bless children they cannot save. You watch boatmen carry silk in one direction and corpses in the other. Long before you ever touch a medical text, you understand the first law of your city. Life is commerce, and death is logistics. When fever takes your younger sister, no famous physician comes. No velvet-robed scholar arrives with silver instruments and Latin certainty. Only a local barber surgeon visits your home. He smells of sour wine and camphor. His hands are rough, his tools are ugly, but he comes. He opens the boil beneath your sister's arm, changes the cloths, whispers to your mother, and stays long enough to fail honestly. That changes you. You do not dream of glory after that. You dream of usefulness. As a boy, you carry jars, wash bowls, grind herbs, and hold men down while their wounds are stitched shut. You learn blood before you learn theory. You learn that most medicine is ritual draped over desperation. Leeches, cautery, purges, poultices, prayers, smoke, vinegar, urine charts, saint medals, hot irons. Sometimes patients live. Often they do not. The dead teach faster than the living. By 20, you know enough to be dangerous and useful at the same time. The respected physicians still wear silk and distance. They debate air, humors, stars, and divine displeasure. But when the poor rot in crowded rooms, they send for men like you, men with practical hands, men cheap enough to hire and expendable enough to lose. Then the rumors begin. Soldiers bring disease, merchants bring whispers. A port closes, another delays inspection. Someone says Milan is in trouble. Someone says villages inland are emptying. Someone says not to worry, because Venice has seen plague before, and Venice is smarter than other cities. Venice has islands for quarantine. Venice has inspectors. Venice has records, barriers, laws, and bells. Venice also has rats. By the spring of 1630, the city no longer speaks in rumors. It speaks in numbers, households sealed, boats redirected, markets thinned. More dead each week, then more dead each day. The magistrates of health need men willing to enter infected homes, inspect bodies, record the dying, and survive long enough to repeat the process tomorrow. Not the famous doctors, not the cautious ones. Men like you. You sign the contract because the city pays well, because your mother needs bread, because fear can look a lot like duty when written on paper. That is the day your old life ends. They issue your clothing piece by piece, like armor for a war no one understands. A long, dark coat stiffened against filth. Gloves, boots, a hat that marks your office. A cane to lift blankets, point at swellings, keep the desperate from touching you. And then the mask. Leather, glass, and a long beak packed with herbs, resin, and vinegar-soaked sponge against the foul air everyone blames. When you put it on for the first time, you do not look like a healer. You look like the final thing a sick child sees before death. People recoil from you in the street. Children cry. Women cross themselves. Men step aside and stare as if hell has sent an official representative. You want to tell them that you are still Matteo Bellini. You are still the boy from the canal house. You are still human under the leather and glass. But the costume changes everything. Once you wear it, no one speaks to your face again. They speak to the mask. Your days become a procession of doors. You knock. Someone inside hesitates. Then bolts scrape, and the smell escapes first. Sweat, vomit, smoke, shit, damp straw, and the sweet, heavy note of corruption. You enter with your ledger. Count the sick. Count the dead. Look for buboes at the neck, groin, and armpit. Listen for the wet ruin in the lungs. Recommend isolation. Order the bedding burned. Mark the house. Move to the next one. At first, you still try to save everyone. You lance swellings. You prescribe vinegars. You order rooms aired and floors scrubbed. You beg families to separate the living from the dying. You argue with old women hiding feverish grandchildren beneath blankets. You shout at men trying to sneak infected wives onto night boats. You watch priests offer heaven where you cannot offer recovery. Then the city grows faster than your effort. Bells ring so often they stop sounding holy. Funeral barges crowd the canals. Gondoliers become transporters of the dead. The healthy learn to avert their eyes. The rich flee to villas if they can. The poor stay where they are told. Some lock themselves in. Some break quarantine. Some pray. Some loot. Some lie. You learn a second law of medicine. Panic is as contagious as disease. One night you are sent to a parish near the market. 3 children are dead in one room. Their mother is still alive, delirious, singing to them as if they only sleep. Their father kneels in a corner with both hands over his mouth as though he can physically hold back grief. You record the names, ages, condition of the bodies, estimated time of death. The father asks if the youngest suffered. You pause for too long. That is answer enough. After that, you stop pretending that truth and mercy are always the same thing. Weeks pass, then months. The mask rubs sores into your skin. Your shoulders ache from carrying satchels, records, and the weight of being expected. Your own clothes smell wrong even after smoke and washing. Neighbors who once knew your name now leave food at a distance. When you sleep, you dream through glass lenses. When you wake, you do not immediately remember which face is yours. And still the work continues. You inspect ships and hear coughing below deck before the cargo is opened. You travel to the quarantine islands where the wind smells cleaner, but death does not. You see lines of the sick ferried away from the city, eyes fixed on the receding campaniles as if exile itself were a sentence. Some beg to return home. Some beg not to be abandoned. Some are already too weak to ask for anything. There on the plague island you discover the cruelest piece of your profession, routine, morning counts, midday examinations, evening death tallies, burned straw, washed tools, changed herbs, short meals, no illusions. A young assistant named Luca follows you for part of that summer. He is 17, eager, frightened, and still vain enough to believe gloves make him invincible. He asks questions at first. Good questions. How do you tell bubonic from pneumonic? Why do some households lose one person and others lose all? Do prayers help? Do fumes help? Does anything help? You tell him the only honest answer. Sometimes distance helps, sometimes luck helps, and sometimes nothing helps at all. Luca laughs the first time because he thinks you are being dark for effect. He stops laughing when he begins to carry the ledgers of the dead. By late summer, you notice the city changing in smaller ways. Bread lines are shorter. Some shutters reopen. There are fewer sudden screams in the alleys. A market returns in fragments. A child runs past you without freezing. The bells still ring, but not without pause. Venice is not healing. It is merely surviving in public again. You remove your mask beside black water one evening and study your reflection under a lantern. The beard is thinner now, the eyes older, the skin at the bridge of your nose permanently marked. You try to remember what you believed before plague. That skill itself feels luxurious. Before plague, you thought medicine was about defeating death. During plague, you learn it is usually about escorting people to the edge with some dignity still intact. When autumn comes, the city dares to count the living again. The magistrates praise order, priests praise God, merchants praise endurance. No one praises the smell that clung to the hospitals. No one praises the hands that lifted the blankets. No one praises the men who entered first and left last. That is fine. You did not survive for applause. Years later, Venice will build, repaint, trade, marry, and sing as if memory can be softened by stone and ceremony. Visitors will admire the water, the domes, the light on the facades. They will not see the invisible city beneath it, the sealed houses, the black barges, the islands of quarantine, the ledgers swollen with names. But you see it. You always will. You never become a grand physician. No university writes about you. No portrait hangs in a palace. You remain what the plague made you, a necessary man from a terrible season. And yet, in the quiet arithmetic of history, that matters. Because when others fled, you entered. When families lied, you counted. When bodies piled up, you gave them witness. When fear turned every stranger into a threat, you still bent over the sick and called them by name. That is your life. Not heroism, not purity, not victory.